Well, I don't know who's there, but hello everybody, and hope you all are doing well and swell.
Hey, Kamal.
Hello. Hola. Hola.
I know you communicated over. No.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for plugging in. Thank you guys who have come here today. Welcome to your next 90 days. My name is Nabil Sheikh. Been with Remax Galaxy for about 3 years now. Licensed for 6, full-time for 5. By background, I used to work in sales and business development, tech sales, working as a director and VP of a few Fortune 500 companies. I'm a sales coach and trainer. I've led sales summits as well. And if you thought real estate wasn't sales, you're in the wrong industry. Very point blank period. This is going to be a pretty interactive class. So those of you who are on Zoom as well, would love to get your guys' responses too here and there when I ask questions or give thumbs up. Feel free to add into the chat. Siobhan will answer back. But this whole training is designed to really help you jumpstart into 2026, right? We all know that October, November, December are the cold months, are the difficult months. Everybody's busy with holidays. It's cold outside. Sellers getting anxious. Buyers are waiting. Nobody wants to move in the winter. We know that. However, business still happens. Sales still happen every day, every week, every month. The question that you have to ask yourself is, why isn't it happening for you if it's not happening for you, right? But before we get started on that, I just want to get a better understanding as to why you guys are in real estate to begin with, right? Himan, why are you a realtor?
Make money.
Make money, okay? Did you get?
I like the freedom.
You like freedom.
Yeah.
Financial freedom. Oh, don't piggyback. Don't piggyback. Give me a real answer.
Make sure that everybody.
What was that? Is that KC? Okay.
I have ice in my mouth now. I was saying that I did it because ultimately when I wanted to buy my house, no one was there to help me. Everybody wanted to make money. So that's not what I'm in for. I'm not in it to make money. I'm in it to help others.
Okay. Helping others. Okay.
I like the flexibility.
Flexibility.
I'm here to help people too. And at the end of the day, I will make money. Yes,
It-
financial freedom as well.
Here to help people make money. Okay.
Help people.
Help
And make
people
money.
and make money. Okay, wonderful. Everybody's got their reasons, right? If you want to make friends out of this is obviously a business where you can do that too. Sure. You want to find a significant other? I don't know. You probably could. I wouldn't suggest it, but you probably could. But the thing is, you got to get real about why you're in this industry, right? Because sales is all about production. It's all about results. There is certain work that you need to do to get those results, right? For some, if you're doing B2B sales, which I did, that's just a lot of networking, a lot of schmoozing, and having the right product and the right service that comes down to a financial price. When you're in B2C, there's a lot of things that are involved. There's mentality, there's emotions, there's people, there's backgrounds, there's future. There's a lot of things that are involved when it comes to dealing with people. So when it comes to helping people, like some of you guys said, yeah, very important, because that's in between A to B. But your reasoning and your why as to why you guys are in this business is where you started and where you want to get to, which is B. For me, it's 3 reasons. It's money, time, financial freedom, point blank, period. That is it. The flexibility and the lifestyle that I can create from this. But for me to get that, yes, I have to be a people person. I have to be able to help people because that is what we do. Be able to help people financially with their properties, with their families, with their livelihood, right? So the in-between you will have to do, yes. But if you have a solid enough reason as to why you're doing this, you will get up every single day with so much energy, so much excitement, so much motivation, so much drive to push and move you forward. And if you don't have a strong enough reason. If it is helping people, great. If it is financial freedom, great. You got to figure out what that is for you. But at the end of the day, if you think that this is just an industry where you're just helping families or you're whatever. Basically, if you don't think this is sales, you're just a glorified customer service rep. That's really what it is. Because at the end of the day, anybody can help somebody buy a home. Anybody can help list a home when somebody wants to list it. The true measure comes from when you're actually able to communicate, you're able to convey value, you're able to effectively help people understand where the market is and where it's going to be and what they need to do. And that becomes difficult because people tend to have their own opinions. People tend to have their own thoughts. The sellers who think that their home can sell for $100,000 more. The buyers who think that they can submit a $50K less asking offer and they're still going to get the house, or they can get an interest rate in the 3%. Right? None of these things are going to happen. Okay? But let's go ahead and get started. You go to the third slide. So I gave you guys essentially a taste of mindset, right? That is the number one most important thing in anything that you're doing, is having a proper mindset. Whether you've been in the industry for 20 years or for 20 minutes, you have to have that proper mindset as to what you're going to accomplish and what you want to do in this business, right? See, if you're getting up in the morning thinking, or if you're waking up at 10, 11, 12 o'clock thinking, oh, I don't have anybody to work with, I don't have any clients, I don't have any leads, I don't have any business, this person's just been sitting with a pre-approval for 85 days, it's about to expire in 5 days, this seller has had their property listed for a month and a half, but they won't even reduce price and it's way over asking. Every client that I have is telling me that they want to wait for interest rates to drop. They want to wait for prices to drop. Every seller is telling me that they want to wait until the new year. Okay, well, guess what? My cat died. Any excuse is good enough, right? Even the cat dying. Any excuse is good enough. Remember, there's reasons and there's excuses, right? Reasons we can say is justifiable. It's understandable, right? Excuses is whatever. It's just something that's not, it just prevents you from being motivated enough to actually get up and do something. There's positive and there's negative, but there's intent that makes the difference, okay? You can be influential or you can be manipulative. What's the difference between the two? What's the difference, Aisha?
What's the difference between
influential and manipulative? The result's the same.
Yeah, well, that's true. And the difference is, how you come across to your client.
Your perception. Absolutely. One's negative, one's positive, right? So do you want to make excuses or not? At the end of the day, it all comes down to where your head's at. If your mindset is proper and right, if you understand why you're doing this, if you have a solid routine, you have, a solid vision, you have proper skill sets that are there, you have a proper system that's set in place, right? You have that right mindset, you're able to track forward. Real estate is, once again, it's not that type of industry where you're going to talk to one person and the next day they're going to want to buy a property or sell their house, right? There is a longevity that's there, but it's a matter of consistency, right? By the way, these slides are just for you. I don't even use them. If you're taking notes, great. If you're not taking notes, you're probably going to have to re-record and watch this all over again. But that consistency aspect is super important, right? Because if you think about going to the gym, you're not going to turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger after 1 week, after 1 month, after 3 months. It takes time. However, after 3 months, will you start seeing results if you're consistently in 2, 3, 4 times a week? Yeah, for sure. If you're trying to get healthy and you're going on runs and walks, maybe you did like half a mile one day. Maybe the next month you do a mile. Maybe the month after that you do 3 miles. Next thing you know, you're in a jogging group, a running group, and you're doing 10 miles a day, right? That consistency will build momentum. That momentum will create small results. Those small results will add up. It will increase your confidence. It will allow you to do more. As you're going through that process, you're honing in on your skill sets little by little too, and just improving that aspect as well, right? But it all starts with mindset. If you've got a negative mindset, well, quite frankly, how do you expect yourself to be successful? If you think that you're not going to be successful, you're not going to be successful. If you think that, this homeowner said that, he wanted only cash offers. Well, guess what? He's probably only going to want cash offers because you've already put this invisible mental barrier to the point where when you try to communicate with them about other options of how their home could sell more or the realistic of it, they're not even going to listen. You don't even believe yourself. If you don't believe yourself, how can you help them believe you, right? So it all comes down to mindset. Next slide. Okay, focus, right? You have to have a high level of focus in this industry as well. See, we have 24 hours a day, right? If you're full-time in this business, you have literally all waking day to run and operate your business. It's a lot of time, right? If you're putting in 8 hours, 10 hours, it's a lot of time. But are those really focused 8-10 hours? If you're a dual agent, you're working a full-time job, or you're a stay-at-home parent and taking care of kids in the household, or what have you, and you only have 2, 3, 4 hours a day, that's fine too. But it's a matter of that focused effort, right? See, a lot of people think multitasking can be effective and efficient. Maybe some people are on the Zoom and they're doing other things as well. That you can hear while you're doing other tasks and stuff. Let me give you a quick example about multitasking. Hang on, can I use you as an example? Okay, come up here real quick. All right. I want you to stand right there so the camera can see you. Okay. And what I'm going to ask you to do is rub your belly and pat your head. Rub your belly with your left hand and pat your head with your right hand. Do it simultaneously. Okay? Yeah, in a circle. Pat your head. Oh, it's not simultaneously. Okay. He's doing okay. He's learning, right? He's developing. He's learning how to multitask. Okay, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, now do it with your left foot standing up. What did I say? What foot did I say?
Left.
Left foot standing up. You got your right foot?
Yep.
Multitasking, that's cool, thank you. That's the whole point, right? Multitasking can be extremely difficult. There's no way that you can do two things at the same time 100% effectively. Now, we're in the United States of America, so you gotta kind of learn how to do it, right? But you also gotta stay focused and remember that, where you are in that moment, what task you're doing. If you want it to be as effective and efficient as it can possibly be, you gotta be 100% all in, right? But that's the same thing with any aspect of your real estate business, okay? Figure out what those certain few things are that really will help propel and grow your business. If it's social media, okay, have that as a priority. Make sure you are consistent, you are effective, you are posting 3, 4, 5 times a day. You know how the algorithms work. You're learning how it consistently changes and evolves and grows, what have you. Okay, if it's handing out 5 business cards a day, right? Make sure you do it religiously. Right? If it's following up on your follow-up calls, if it's working your CRM, if it's running through neighborhoods, if it's connecting with real estate partners, if it's with HOA, whatever it is that is what you believe to be your bread and butter, right? Have 2 to 3 of those things nailed down pat, right? Once you feel like you have that on autopilot, move to another one. I remember watching this one video about this one acquisition CEO, I forget his name, but he mentioned that his main goal every year within his business is one asset producing skill that he has. He teaches and delegates it to somebody else in his organization that he fully trusts. Now, once that's delegated, he moves on to another one that he perfects and that he's mastered. You've heard the saying, jack of all trades, master of none? Make that statement sense to me. Can anybody make sense of that statement? Why would you want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none? I can't either. You want to be a jack of all trades and a master of a few, right? So think about it. If this guy, and this guy's been in business for 22 years, that means 20, if he's done it the way that he says, 22 skill sets have been mastered within his organization, and he's still continuing. I can't even say that I've mastered 5, to be quite frank. I'm still in a growth mode. But you think about it from that point of view, right? If you have that high level of focus, you can also get to that point too. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Okay, being efficient, right? Not just working hard, but working smart. I think that's one of the reasons why we all got into real estate too, because it is smart. You can sell $1 million house and make 20, 25, 30 grand. The level of work that it takes for that one, quite frankly, is the same level of work that it takes for the $250,000 condo, right? Obviously there's variables involved because there's people and so on and so forth. But fact of the matter is that if your turnover time is 90 days to get a home sold and you can make 30 grand, well, you tell me how many other professions can make 30 grand in 3 months. You know what I mean? Unless you're at like a senior level or whatever. So you are working hard, right? Success isn't just about effort, it is about leverage, right? So that's where you want to kind of get smart about it and leverage different tools. We harp on a CRM system constantly. And everybody has their own method in their own way. I can only speak for what works for me and what I've seen other successful realtors do. But fact of the matter is, when you're in a country where it's so fast moving, and especially the DMV where it's so fast moving, there's so much going on. We've got our family and we've got our friends and we've got this concert and this comedy show and we've got this HOA meeting and we've got, to take care of our lawn and our house and renovate this and repair this. And there's so much to do. Isn't it easy? Isn't it very, very easy for you to miss out on following up with a client? It is super easy to do that. Right? So if you've got them all down in a notepad or an Excel sheet, if there's no way where there's touch points happening without you, there's emails or texts or communication, there's value being given without you, if there's no way where there's some type of notification to allow you to remember, oh shoot, I gotta call this person, well, what's gonna happen? That other agent that is hustling, that is hungry, that is grinding is going to call your clients and get that listing. I think it's probably happened to all of us. I think we've all been in that situation where, this buyer went with somebody else, this seller went with somebody else. But I'm sure it's also probably happened if you've hustled, if you're grinding, you're in that growth mode. I'm sure it's also probably happened where this person went with somebody else simply because you didn't have the right timing, because you just missed out. You didn't follow up enough. Right? So that purpose is super important. Now, this can be with anything. It's not just a CRM, right? There's so much different tools. I know Ben talked about it last week as well. There's AI, there is auto calls, there is auto text that you can use. There's so many different companies and there's so many different methods. Now, you can have systems and tools that are uber expensive, right? Like a sync system, which is 10 to 20,000 a month, right? You can have things that are very, very simple and basic, like a follow-up boss or a top producer, which could be 50 to 60 a month, right? You can have some things that are in between additives, right? But it all just comes down to one, your current situation as to where you are financially and what you're willing to invest. Obviously, that goes hand in hand with the return on investment, and where your business is at currently, right? I know Ben's recently implemented a lot of systems. I've implemented a lot of systems, but that's because we've been there. 4 years ago, I couldn't tell you this, because I didn't have those other systems, but I just had a basic CRM, right? You're building up to it. So there are other methods where you can work smart that's not going to be heavily costly too. You don't need to, spend money on this automatic AI system that costs $2,000 a month to be able to contact and hit your friends. What do you need? You need a system that's in place where over the next 30 days, you can consistently reach out to the 300, 500, 1,000 people in your database. Right? That's what you need. If the average person can make 40 calls an hour and you have 400 people in your database, that means all you need is on a monthly basis, 10 dedicated hours to follow up. Right? You got to figure these things out. Figure out what system's going to work for you, what routines are going to work for you. That's where working smart, that's where focus comes in hand. You ever heard the saying, you got to slow down to speed up? Slow down to speed up. These months are that time. These months are that time to get your systems lined up, to get your routines lined up, to get your daily work ethics lined up, your skill sets improved. This is that time frame. Okay? Let's go to the next slide, please. What's this slide? Profitability. Okay. So this kind of goes hand in hand with that, right? You may see agents that are doing 40, 50, 60, 100 million a year. That's great. I have an agent that I know in another brokerage, and she's always been one of the top 5 agents in that brokerage, big brokers. And she does anywhere between 40 to 65 million in sales a year. Now, I also know that there is an agent here who makes more money than she does and that does less. So there's different aspects and methods, right? I mean, one, when you said that you got into this business for money. So did you get in this business to make a lot of money, or did you get in this business to keep a lot of money? Because I don't care if somebody makes $1 million a year, but they only keep $200,000. I'd rather learn from the guy who made $500,000 a year and keeps $400,000, right? So you have your commissions. Obviously, that's your earnings, right? But then you have all your different expenses too. So get smart about that as well. Me personally, when I'm looking into a system, when I'm looking into a lead gen or a lead flow, when I'm looking into an assistant, a transaction coordinator, I give 90 days max. I should be able to know if this is a viable system, a viable tool that is going to give me production within 90 days. And if it doesn't, I scrap it and I move on to something else, right? So when you're looking at it from that perspective, right, of what your return on your investment is going to be, then you're able to actually maximize. Why? Have you ever seen agents who leave after like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years? Who maybe had built teams or this, that, and a third? This is the reason why. They weren't profitable. They ended up, maybe they didn't have good financial habits too, but they also ended up spending a lot of money, on different systems, different tools, different this, that, and the third, whatever. And it just built a lot of stress. Like 70% of your earnings goes away from the 100% that you make. Like, could you imagine that? That's crazy to me, right? So you always want to look at it from that standpoint. Everything that you're doing is a return on your investment. People say, oh, this is a crap lead. This is a bad lead. Is it? Because there's the thing, if that person's got a 600 credit score, they have $5,000 in the bank, they want to buy a single family home, yeah, that's not going to be a good lead to buy a home, right? But average person knows 326 people. Average person. So if this one person that doesn't have the funds or the credit score to be able to buy a house knows 326 people, okay, be nice, befriend them, right? Give value. You always want to be giving value because this person might not buy a house from you, but could they refer you to one of those 326 people? Sure. That's why a lot of people try to do deals and talk a lot over the phone. I always try to meet with a client in person. The moment that I picked up the phone and the lead's there, I always want to try to get them into a meeting. It's always bam, bam, bam. Book a meeting from a meeting, book a meeting from a meeting, book a meeting from a meeting. Why? Because I may have called this lead, but how many other agents are doing that too? How many other different online sources are they looking at business, at properties, at this, that, and the third, whatever, at a home value report or a market comp, right? How many other emails are they getting? How many other agents are emailing them? How much information are they getting from elsewhere? But the thing is, I can only do so much over the phone. My impact is in person, right? Which is why I said, hey, be in person at the meeting. You're going to get a lot more impact than being on Zoom. But obviously we understand, different people's situations. So you always want to meet with that person in person. So even if this person doesn't have, like you could talk to them over the phone and they tell you that the credit score is bad or they don't have much savings, that's okay. Meet with them in person. That half an hour or hour meeting, think about what potential investment that could be. Let's say if that person over the course of 10 years ends up referring you to 5 other individuals where accumulated you had sold $3 million worth of real estate, right? $3 million worth of real estate at 2.5% is how much? $75,000. So for 1 hour, you refuse to do that and lose $75,000? Make that make sense. Everything that you do will have a return on investment. And remember, everything that you don't do will also have a return on investment. See, when you make a choice to do something, you automatically make a choice not to do something else, right? Remember that. If you choose to go out with the guys or go out with the girls, this Friday night or Thursday night or whatever it is, you're taking a choice to take away from getting your systems prepared, from organizing your lead flow, from fixing out your email campaigns and your drip campaigns, from making those follow-up calls, what have you, right? Yes, we all work hard, we all work a lot, we put in hours, right? And we need some breathing time too. So I'm not saying be a machine and a robot, but you also got to think and be smart about your business too. Okay, go to the next slide, please. Compound effect. Okay, I kind of already talked a little bit about this, right? As you build and generate momentum, your business will compound, right? So the compound effect essentially states that when you are consistent in anything, it will not multiply, but it will maximize to the 10th power. Everybody heard the example of, would you rather take $1 million right off the bat or a penny that doubles in value every day only for 30 days? You've heard that? Yep. Have you heard this? Who hasn't heard this? Yeah. You've heard it, Ben? Yeah. Which one do you take? You take the $1 million? Congratulations, you just lost $4.6 million. A penny that doubles in value every day, Ebenezer's gonna do the math right now on his phone. A penny that doubles in value every day for 30 days actually equals $5.3 million, right? You could.
Quicker than 30 days.
You could, but you're the agent who's knowledgeable that knows how to, right? Some people may not. Some people may take that $1 million and be in debt for $4 million, right? You never know. See, the idea is, right, is you can get handed a whole lump sum or you can build on it. And if you build on it, you learn how to continue building on it. If you're consistent with your work ethic, it will maximize and will compound. If you're consistently on a daily basis, you're consistent with your follow-up calls, you're consistent with events, you're consistent with meeting with people, you're consistent with emails, whatever it is, if you're consistent and steady with it, it is going to work. See, the work that you're doing today, your benefit will come 60, 90, 120 days from now. So what you have right now, you have to think about this, right? And it's going to hurt. You got to think about it. Where your business is now and what you have now is a result of what you did in June, July, August, September. And if you didn't do a lot, okay, go back and fix it. So that October, November, December, what you do these months, January, February, and March are blessed. Okay? So compound effect works in that way. Now, you guys have heard the saying, it takes 21 days to build a habit? Who believes that? Raise your hand. You believe it? You believe it? You don't believe it? You don't believe it? You don't believe it? How long does it take to build a habit?
2 weeks. I would say 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
I want to say like 2 months.
2 months?
3 days.
Longer?
For astronauts, it says 3 days.
Astronauts say 3 days? This is a very subjective question, just so you know, right? This is a very subjective question. The answer to how long it takes to build a habit is on you. You can build a habit from day one if you're that type of person to do so, right? But for some people, they may need to put that number figure on it, right? It's a mental thing, it's a placebo, right? For some people, they might take 365 days. It's really up to you. What is a habit? A habit is basically something that you never stop doing, right? Breathing is a habit. Eating is a habit. Well, unless there's days where you haven't eaten in 24 hours, technically. Sleeping is a habit, right? Same thing. So a habit is what you're going to do regularly that never breaks. So the question is, how long does it take you? People do New Year's resolutions all the time. Personally, I'm fully against it. Because I think if you want to make a resolution, you can do it right here today. Why do you need to wait till December 31st to do so? So same thing with a habit, right? So when you have a habit of being consistent, right, it can easily get broken because things come up all the time. Life comes up all the time. But that's the difference between something that's a priority, which is going to get done, versus something that's an option. It's like, I could do it, right? So figure out what those priorities are. Okay, next slide, please. All right, speed of execution, super, super important, right? Timing is everything. You know, we talk about that, especially when it comes with leads that you're working, right? Because think about it. Most places where you may be generating leads from, unless it's fully self, unless you literally met this person at a Walmart, you know, unless you met them in your community or through friends or whatever, when leads are coming in, you're not the only person that's getting that, right? So it's vitally important that you have, once again, those systems and routines set in and those skill sets set in so that you're able to get to this lead. You're able to get to this person. But procrastination is really the killer of everything. I mean, it's a killer of momentum, it's a killer of success, it's a killer of results, right? So this all kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying earlier, right? You need to figure out what it is that you want, why you want it, and if you're focused towards it. And find out. We all do that. We all procrastinate on things, right? I procrastinated earlier this morning for like 30 minutes on my follow-up calls. I was just sitting there on my computer. I'm just like checking emails. And I literally knew that I had 2 hot leads that I needed to call. And I don't know what I was doing. And then next thing you know, I'm like, oh shoot, it's 8:30. All right, pick up the phone call, book one appointment, pick up the phone call. He wants me to call him back next week to schedule the appointment, whatever, right? But like, actually the third line is perfectly said. Done is better than perfect, right? We see a lot of people who are like on social media putting these reels together. They look so good, they look so pretty, right? And then we got some other individuals, even in our own brokerage. Mahir does this all the time, and I love it. It doesn't need to be pretty. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be done, right? See, Waleed always talks about, you know, when you're as a realtor, as a professional, right? Be dressed professionally, right? I sold an $800,000 home in March, and I was in my pajamas when I met that person. So I'm not saying that you don't need to be dressed professionally. You do, right? But it's an attitude. It's a mindset. As long as you're doing it, it's better than not doing it, right? If you don't ask the question, you've already lost. If you don't ask for the business, you've already lost, right? So you kind of got to get out of yourselves in that front and just do it, right? Can we move on to the next slide, please? Okay. Relationships over transactions. So this is kind of what we've all been discussing. Yes, this is an industry of sales. However, nobody wants to work with you if you're a jerk, right? Nobody wants to work with you if they don't like you. Nobody wants to work with you if you don't know what you're talking about. Knowledge, understanding, expectations, keep learning, keep growing, listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, really develop and hone in on what is happening in the market not just the technical stuff, because remember, there's a science and there's an art. The science, you can convey to a homeowner why their property might be overlisted. You can convey to a buyer why rates are never going to go into the 3% again or 2%, right? But the art is, how do you help them understand, right? This is where through practice, through repetition, and through learning, can you develop and define that, right? But in regards to relationships, we talk about this constantly. I think Waleed told me at one point, I think this was like earlier this year, that a little over 90% of his business is referrals. Because I know the lead flow that he has. He has a solid lead flow. But I mean, to have 90% of your business come from referrals, right now, my business is maybe 30% referrals. I'm just very much in the hustle, grind, hustler mode, right? But when you get to that point where, like I was saying, even the individual who isn't in a position to buy or, can't buy a property because they don't have the finances, they too know people, right? When you get to the point where you are so good with people that they literally would give the wallet out of their pocket to you, you've done it right, So this all just comes from really just understanding individuals as to where they are, right? This comes from really understanding how to have proper conversations, how to be able to connect with people, how to know where what their circumstances are, to be able to not give advice. I think people in general, we tend to do that. We tend to do that with our family and with our friends when they're sharing their problems, right? One thing that I learned a long time ago, and thank God for my marriage because it works, is ask the question, do you want me to give you advice or do you just want me to listen and hear? And you may not ask that to a person, that you're speaking to is telling you about their challenges as to why they can't buy, why they can't sell, whatever. But know that in the back of your mind, right? Maybe they don't need advice. Maybe they just want a listening ear. But at the end of the day, one of the biggest human desires is connection. It is a desire to feel connected. It is a desire for intercommunication, interpersonal relationships, and to feel like somebody gets you, right? So when you have that aspect in relationship building, this person may not buy from you from this year. They may not sell this year. Maybe it takes 3 years. Maybe it takes 5 years. My longest transaction, 4 years. Took 4 years for that person to convert. And I wasn't always just communicating with them about real estate. I was just checking in and seeing what's going on. That's what you want to do. You want to be a friend at the end of the day. You got to know your stuff. You got to know your knowledge. You have to know what's happening. You have to have the skills to convert, but you also need to have the level of knowledge to know if this is somebody that you can convert now or not, right? Not every lead is one that you want to work. It's just one that you may want to nurture, right? We talk about that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, energy management. Oh, super huge, right? You're going to hear a lot of times people talk about getting up at 5 in the morning and 6 in the morning and hitting the gym and then doing a cold plunge and, getting your to-dos put down the day before and, starting at 7:30 to do your follow-up emails and your calls and this and that. Yeah, okay. I can't tell you that because I don't do that. I get up at somewhere between 7 to 8 every day. At times I get up at 9. But like I said, I got in this business for flexibility and for lifestyle. But God bless, I am able to get up at 12 o'clock if I want to, and I'll still be okay. Right? But you want to be able to make sure that those routines are set and your energies are right. So how do you do this? Right? This isn't even anything real estate related, but it's everything real estate related. Are you eating properly? Are you getting the proper amount of rest? Doesn't need to be 8 hours. Maybe you can function on 5. I function on about 6.5. Right? I eat like a tank. I literally eat anything and everything, but that's because my body can do that. Right? Some people, can't have gluten, can't have too much protein, can't have too many carbs, they fall asleep. Yeah, I get it. I had 2 burgers last night at like 9 o'clock. I fell asleep on my parents' couch for like 20 minutes while she was talking to my wife. It was funny. What could I do? But you got to know, are your eating habits in place? Where you're spending your time is super important too. Are you hanging around those that just gossip and talk and say this and that and are negative? And, think about it. Every time you go to family and friends and whatever, they always ask you about real estate. They always ask you about, how's the market? It's great. And got a listing, got 2 buyers that are under contract, got 3 more that are pre-approved. That's great. That's tough, because the jobs are gone and house values are dropping and this and that. Always negative. You need to know where to kind of separate yourself from, because there's the thing, right? There's the conscious mind, which is what we have active and on right now. You're hearing me talk, you're hearing me move, you're hearing a presentation, you're consciously aware and listening. What is your subconscious absorbing? That we don't actually know. We don't know until we actually bring it back conscious, because maybe something that I said here today, you then say to a buyer, or you then say to a seller, or whatever, something that you learn, or you apply it. That's your subconscious bringing it back to your conscious. But the thing is, people are negative by default, right? So you're going to absorb that, and people will generally apply that. It takes a lot more conscious effort and willpower and mind power to be positive than it does to be negative. This is all about energy. Because like I said earlier, if your mindset is that when you walk into a listing appointment where you're like, I don't know if this guy's going to want to work with me. That's energy, right? So you want to make sure that all of these are lined up properly. This is all goes with your daily routine, your weekly routine, your monthly routine, right? From eating to drinking to exercising to workouts to family and friends to just shutting your mind off. You know, my wife asked me, like, when I'm at night, I'm just like sitting and watching the TV and watching reality TV. She's like, how can you do this? I'm like, I just need to decompress and my mind needs to turn off. This is the best way for me to do it. I don't even know what's going on in the show. I'm just sitting there, but that's my decompression. Or I sit in my car. That's my decompression, right? So we need that too. This is all with balancing energy. Vitally important. Okay, next slide, please. And then skill mastery, right? You're in real estate. You're in scales. You got to have skills. Yes, you can have a book of business where, you know, you have people who simply refer you and trust you to sell their house and sell and help them buy a house and this, that, and third. That's fine. That's fine. There's plenty of people, there's plenty of agents who have that. Like literally they just know people who when they're ready to sell, they're going to go to you or go to them, or when they're ready to buy, they're going to, you know, go to their friend. That's fine. But what happens at that point? If you can't sell the property for where it actually value is, your client loses money. What happens at that point? If your buyer ends up buying a house where the HVAC tanks 30 days later, you didn't do a good transaction there, they lost money on that, right? So your skill sets are super, super important. See, we're also shifting into a market. The market is undefined, we keep talking about that. However, look at agents right now. Don't look at the properties itself either, right? Don't look at the values, don't look at rates. Look at some of the agents that are operating now. When you see certain signs that are coming up, or when you see properties on the market, you're seeing a lot of the same agents listing, right? Maybe on the buyer side as well. You're looking at, you know, comps under contract, they're pending or sold. On the buy side too, you're seeing a lot of the same agents. These agents have honed in on their skills, right? And it's like a black hole. They're absorbing the market. You ever heard the saying, the rich get richer, right? The reason the rich get richer, that saying is more so factual than just a saying, is because they understand opportunity and they jump on it. Whereas on the other side, they don't, and they make excuses for it. Same thing kind of happens here too. So when you have certain big agents and big teams that are growing and succeeding, they're constantly improving the processes. They're constantly growing their skill sets. They're learning. They're going to these different seminars. They're learning from other agents. They're in masterminding sessions. They're growing. They're watching YouTube videos. They're listening to podcasts. They're doing all these things to develop and grow that ability so that when they have that one shot, when they meet with that homeowner, that one shot to get that listing, they get it, right? Because sometimes that's all you have. Yes, follow-up is key. But don't walk into an appointment where you've lost before it's even started. That's why your skill sets become super important on that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, simplify to amplify, right? This business is very, very simple though. That's one thing that I love about it. Out of all the sales that I've done, I've been in telecommunications, I've been in digital marketing, I've been in insurance, I've been in security. Out of all the sales that I've done, this business is probably the simplest when it comes to the science, right? The art of it, people, that's where it can get complex. But when it comes to simplicity, right? Simple is key. Ever heard the saying, KISS, keep it simple, sweetheart, right? 3S rule that I always follow: systems, streamline processes, and stay consistent. See, you don't need to be this charismatic, super knowledgeable, amazing real estate guru. You really don't. But you do need to be steady. You do need to be consistent. You do need to have a drive. You do need to know what you're talking about. You do need to have good people skills. But the biggest thing is if you're steady and consistent with that, what happens? It compounds, momentum comes in, confidence grows, it carries over, and then you get to a point where your business is on autopilot. Personally, I'll give you an example. This year, I got engaged. I planned a wedding in another 3 months. I got married I bought a house. I started a business, a real estate team. I launched a lead generation business. And I hit a revenue that I made the same revenue that I made last year by May. My business this year was on autopilot, essentially. Did I still work it? Absolutely. Have we grown from that? Absolutely. Is there still business to do? Is there still work to do? Absolutely. But the reason why I was on this autopilot was because of the work that I did previously, because of the consistency and steadiness that was in. So you don't need to, know it all. You don't need to have everything lined down packed. But as long as you're working simply, your business does move and it does grow. Yeah. I think that's it. Thank you, guys. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Just how I like it. Very thorough.
That's
Great job, Bill.